guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Went to Senior Center to Deliver Pizza, Left with New Mom. I'm a pizza delivery guy and was winding down for a much-needed early close on Mother's Day Sunday. I'm one of the only people on staff who didn't have family plans that day. My family situation is what you might call complicated, so worked all morning while short-staffed and was pretty beat. It was especially emotionally hammering to deliver so many pizzas to happy families visiting or hosting their moms. I was ready to go home and get drunk and forget about the whole stupid holiday. So I got a late call just a few minutes before we closed and decided to take it because money is money, and it was a pretty big order, 6 pies. So I loaded up and realized about 3/4 of the way to the destination that the address was for the local senior center. They used to order all the time, tip really well, and make really sweet conversation before the pandemic, so I was psyched to see they were safe and steady enough to order pizzas again. I snuck them a side of breadsticks from a douchebag who never tips and always harasses our female drivers that I was dropping off along the way. By the time he'd called to complain we'd be closed. Suck on that. But not on your breadsticks. Anyways, I digress. I got there and was glad to finish off what had been an overall really crappy day with a pleasant trip to the senior center and carry the food to the front desk. The receptionist offered to carry the pizzas back, but she looked frail enough to be a senior center resident herself, so I said I was happy to get them where they were going. She COVID-checked me and gave me a new mask, not sure what was wrong with mine, but whatever, and I found my way to some event room where they'd ordered the pizzas. And it was a total gut punch. Literally just a room full of sons and daughters visiting their mothers and having some kind of festive party. My good mood went away real quick and I dropped the pizzas on the table and shuffled out. But I realized that while they prepaid for the pizzas over the phone with a credit card, they hadn't tipped, so no matter how bitter I was, I had to make in-person contact with whoever had ordered the pizzas, or I had basically just wasted half an hour. I went around the room asking for Margaret, the name on the order, and eventually someone put me in front of her. Our shop doesn't have a uniform or anything, so I started to explain, "Hi, Margaret, right? You ordered," and she was really frazzled, I guess running the event, so she cut me off and was like, "Oh good, you're here." We were starting to wonder. I don't think Bonnie has been matched with anyone yet. Wait right here. I tried to cut in and explain I'd just delivered the pizzas and she'd mistaken me for someone else, but it went right over her head. She pushed an old woman over in a wheelchair and said, practically shouting, "Bonnie, this young man is here just for you." Before I could try my explanation again, Bonnie replied, "He is he." Well, full disclosure, son. Don't get too attached, cause Jesus has my heart. Margaret, the one who'd ordered the pizza, or at least the name we had on it, whispered to me, "She's a real live wire, have fun." And then Margaret and my tip were in the wind. Bonnie looked up at me and goes, "You like bridge? I hope you brought your checkbook," and started wheeling away to a table. I followed her, thinking I'd better not lose track of her until I could return her to Margaret. I spotted a woman with an ID badge who looked like she knew what she was doing and explained that I was the pizza delivery guy, but someone had left me with this old woman in my charge. I guess my explanation wasn't clear enough because I said something like, "Hey, I was actually delivering some pizzas up here." And the girl says, "You brought pizza. Oh, that's so nice. I'll make sure you're compensated." So at first I thought, great, all resolved now. But no. She gave me a wad of cash and this organizer disappeared, leaving me with Bonnie and her deck of cards. I kept looking for Margaret to return this lady to, but also did kind of enjoy making conversation with her, and knew no other deliveries would be coming in since we closed on my drive over. I actually did like listening to Bonnie talk about the YouTube conspiracies she wholeheartedly believed and the spat she was having with the arts and crafts chaperone and so on. She even gave me a recipe. But I was worried that she had dementia and thought I was a family member, or that she was expecting a particular visitor, and at any moment a guy would storm in and say, "What are you doing with my aunt?" or something. So finally, I saw the second organizer again, the one who'd given me the cash. I figured Margaret may never return, so I shouldn't wait for her, and I pulled the organizer aside and said, "Look, there's been a mix-up. I don't really know this woman. The organizer seemed distracted. She was doing several things at once, and she very casually said, "Oh, there's no mix-up. The pairings were totally random. You weren't expected to have much in common. You'll get to know her. Don't overthink it." And receded back into the crowd while I was still saying, "No, I'm just delivering pizza." At that point, I seriously considered leaving, because it wasn't my fault that these people were unorganized, but Bonnie was waiting for me with this huge grin on her face to play more cards, and it didn't look like there were any real relatives coming for her. So I figured I would stick it out for a few more games. I was eventually able to pick up in context from eavesdropping on other pairs that this was not a mother-child extravaganza. It was a volunteer event for women living at the senior home without kids or whose kids couldn't visit them. There was a huge relief because I would have felt really terrible if she was a dementia patient who thought her son had come. Especially because I was kind of enjoying being mothered by her, for lack of a better term. It felt really good to have someone asking what I was doing at work and saying they were proud of me for things that weren't actually a big deal. She proudly bragged to everyone we passed on our courtyard walk about this silly little Employee of the Week award I just won. Basically title only, you get your photo on the wall, but everyone gets it at some point and usually more than once, but she made it feel really important. And I really secretly loved how she got outraged over minor transgressions on my behalf. Like, I told her how my landlord is sticking it to me on repairs, and she was like, "He's quite the repair the tuna," with such sincere gusto. She said she knew a guy who could tune him up for me, and I don't think she was talking about repairs, but I didn't follow up, haha. Every time I tried to extricate myself, she'd have another activity she wanted to do. Once we finished cards, she wanted to do arts and crafts. Once we did that, she wanted me to push her around the courtyard. Once we did that, she was famished from the walk, even though all she did was sit in her wheelchair and wanted pizza. And I'd fed her 2 slices before an orderly appeared and angrily informed me she was not supposed to eat pizza. I don't know how she then ended up with a 3rd slice, but I seriously did not give it to her. Finally, the party was winding down, and she wanted me to hang out and watch a game show with her. About 30 seconds into the show, she was asleep. I left her a coupon, even though I guess she isn't supposed to eat pizza, and headed home. It was kind of nice to spend Mother's Day doing Mother's Day type stuff. Really nice, actually. At this point in my life and career, if you want to call it that, I can have no wholly good memories that involve pizza. But this was pretty close. So happy Mother's Day to those who celebrated, and happy Russian victory day to those who didn't. The next story is titled, "Do you have any idea who I am?" I do. Do you know this man? I'll try to make it so I can't be so easily identified, but we'll also try to give enough detail that can be checked up on as it involves a reasonably famous individual. Therefore, I have no doubt people may be skeptical. So, for years I lived in Kennebunkport in Maine, USA. It's very much a holiday town and gets busy in the summer. Now, as the summer period starts, a very special guest would arrive in Kennebunkport, as they had a holiday home at the northern end of town on a small peninsula. The 41st President of the United States, the late George Bush SNR. The flags and banners used to come out, "Welcome back, Mr. President." There were plenty of restaurants in the town, many owned by the same company, and the president used to dine with us a lot. So, one day I was wiping down the bar. It was a quiet day and we only had a few people dining. Behind the bar is a huge fish tank, so you can see through the tank to the front door. I saw a lady walking across the drive, well-dressed and straightening her skirt. I placed the cleaning stuff under the bar and awaited the lady. "Me, may I help you?" "Karen, I hope so. Is the order ready?" "Me, am not aware of any order, but I'll have a check with the kitchen. Can I take your name?" "Karen, you don't even know who the hell I am? What an embarrassment." She would go on to tell me that she was here for an order of oysters and clams for the presidential compound. Now, this wasn't unusual. The president often got complimentary oysters whenever he would dine with us. Plus, we would often send food up to the compound, but it was never this lady and never a sole person who would pick it up. Certainly not on foot, and we knew the cars they used. I could not get a single word in. She berated me for a while. "I'll have your job," or "Is this the disrespectful, shambolic service you always provide?" and the usual crap. Then she spies the gentleman behind me, full suit, very smart, who has come to see what the commotion was all about. Karen flicks her head his way and utters, "You, come here." Karen went into her rant to be stopped 10 seconds, and as the man in the suit gestured for her to come through into the back dining area, Suited man, madam, will you just step this way please and we can resolve this. Now, I don't work here, but on the other side of the wall she saw George Bush, Barbara Bush, a few guests who were dining with us. I should mention, though you probably know, ex-presidents who were in office before 1997 were provided Secret Service agents to protect them and their family for life. Obama brought this back in making George W. Bush the first president to have lifelong security since 1997. One of President Bush's agents was sat in the corner. The other one was the well-dressed man by Karen's side who she had incorrectly assumed was my manager. Her face went white and she ran. Sort of, she had heels on. She stumbled and headbutted the front door before stumbling over the driveway like a newborn deer trying to walk for the first time. The president's staff just let her go, simply asking for a copy of the CCTV before they left. According to one of my bosses, the lady was picked up by the sheriff's department, charged and fined a few months later. I think there were some form of fraud charges. I had nothing to do with it after she ran out. Our managers dealt with most of it. Like I said, a larger company owned most restaurants in town. We only got snippets. Apparently attempting to steal products and defraud a business by way of claiming to work for an ex-president of the United States is frowned upon in Maine. So yeah, she didn't work on the president's team. She worked at Walmart in a town called Wells, up the coast. Just wanted to try her luck and had probably heard that the president dined here when he was in town. I believe she lost her job there and was arrested and fined a few months later. The next story is titled, "You'll Have My Job." Okay, this should be interesting. So, I'm out shopping for a few things, bread, milk, then bags, etc. I remember that I need some ham, so I go to the cooked meats aisle and look for something tempting. As I'm searching for something nice, I hear a voice behind me saying, "Excuse me," in a not at all polite manner. I look over my shoulder and see the local Karen. I acknowledge her and take 2 steps to the side, but don't turn around. I feel a tap on my shoulder and the same non-too-polite voice saying, "Excuse me, I'm talking to you. Don't ignore me." I turn around and open my mouth to ask what she wants and why she's being rude. But before I can speak, she starts berating me for being a lazy member of staff and ignoring her. I say, "If you think I work here, you're wrong. I don't." And she says, "You're just being ducking lazy. I'll have your job." "Really?" I say, badly feigning surprise, "You'll have my job." "Yes, I will," she says, with a strange mixture of superiority, righteousness, and stupidity. "Okay, suit yourself, you can have it." I waved my hands around in strange shapes and announced, "You are now officially a member of staff." It is said that a picture can speak 1,000 words, but the look on her face at this point just said, "What the duck?" "But I want you to get things for me. I want," she starts. "Don't ask me. I'm a customer. You should ask a colleague since you work here. In fact, you can help me with what I need." "What? But I don't work here," she gibbers. "Yes, you do. You said you'd have my job, and I gave it to you. Now duck off and leave me alone." She stomps off, but that wasn't the end of it. Another customer, who's clearly seen the interaction, stopped her halfway up the aisle and said, loudly enough for me to hear, "Oh, finally someone who works here. Can you get that heavy thing off the top shelf?" "Oh, duck off." She exploded and walked, presumably, out the shop. Other customer, "You absolute legend." The next story is titled, "Karen Mistakes Mia for a Bank Employee. Proceeds to attempt to rob the bank and gets arrested." Background: about 20 years ago, I worked for a company that made software for banks and credit unions. 2 smaller regional banks merged and we were called in to upgrade all the branches for the same version of software and to point the network to the new consolidated bank. This happens after hours so as to not interfere day-to-day operations. The whole process took several hours on-site at each branch. So we were sure we would have plenty of time to roll things back if anything went wrong. We started a few hours before the bank closed. This would give us time to fix anything before the bank opened the next day. The process started with a meeting to go over the plan for the branch, so the bank staff, some of who would be helping with the process, because my team doesn't have complete access to the bank's systems. This is a small bank. There's 4 offices, a conference room and space for like 5 tellers up front. It turned out it was payday for some large employer or something, but just as I started my meeting with the branch manager, the 2 staff from my company, and the 2 bank employees who would be opening the bank the following day, the bank starts to get really busy. The meeting lasts about 30 minutes, and all the while the line and waiting area is filling up, so I rush through the details for the bank manager and release him, then the 2 opening staff. I leave the details for my team for last. My team knew the process, they just needed to know what computers to start on first. Anyway, I dismiss the bank staff, and they go to help the rush up front, and I continue my meeting with my team, then send them out to get some food, since it looks like the bank might not close on time anyway. I head over to the bank manager's office, and immediately a woman ducks under the rope line and makes straight for the office and tries to follow me inside. I didn't see her step out of line, so I at first thought maybe she was a bank employee. As soon as I turned around, she said something like, "It's about damn time, I've been waiting for half an hour." This was bullcrap because we started the meeting at 4:30 and it wasn't even 5:00 yet. I tried to tell her she was mistaken. I don't work at the bank, but she cut me off, not even paying attention to what I was saying. She plopped herself down in one of the chairs and said, "I need to make a withdrawal." I replied, "Sorry, I can't help you with that. You'll need to wait in line." "No, I've already waited for an hour. I know you can do it, you've done it before." She slaps her ID and bank card on the desk and says, "Just open the damn drawer and give me $2,000. I can't. I don't. I could even finish explaining I don't work there. "Bullcrap, you've done it before. Give me $2,000. I can't." That's it. At this point, she's raised her voice and is now standing. I assumed she was going to leave and I went to open the door, but she pushed me back and yelled, "I'm not leaving this office until you give me $2,000. She then picked up a screwdriver out of the toolkit sitting on the desk and starts prying at the desk drawer. I push her back and she swings at me with the screwdriver. I step back, but she scratches my arm, tearing my shirt, and goes back to prying at the drawer. I've had it at this point. I'm thinking she's nuts and I need to do something. I look out the office and it looks like everyone is busy and think maybe they didn't notice her yelling. It looks like she's not making any progress on the desk, it's too sturdy. I try to calm her approach and try to get her attention. She stops for a moment and looks at me like she forgot I was there. "Are you going to get me my money or what?" she snapped. "I'm not an employee of the bank." "Bullcrap. You were just in the meeting with the other employees." "Yes, but..." "Then give me my money or get out of my way," she interrupted before pushing me again. I finally had it. I looked out the window, and it seemed like all the bank employees were calm and quiet. I thought, duck if I'm just going to stand here and watch her rob the bank. She was a big woman, but I played hockey against bigger, so even if she had a few pounds on me, I was pretty sure I could at least slow her down. I took a step back, brought my shoulder down, then, with a step and a short lunge, I shoulder checked her into the brick wall behind her. She smacked her head on the wall, gave a short whump as I knocked the wind out of her, and then she collapsed to the floor unconscious. I watched her suspiciously for a moment, thinking that was easier than I thought. Why didn't I do that earlier? Then I thought, maybe I heard her, so I knelt down to check on her. She was breathing. I should move her. The screwdriver flew across the office, so I just stepped over her and walked out into the bank. About that time I heard sirens, lots of them. A short while later some police came into the bank. Having just assaulted a woman, leaving her unconscious, I put my hands up. The police walked over, looked at me, then walked into the office. I turned around and the bank staff were pointing at the office where I just left. Evidently, they triggered the silent alarm as soon as she yelled at me to give her money. They moved the other customers to the conference room and were following protocols to comply and not interfere. The end result was she woke up to being handcuffed. She was seen by an EMT briefly before being arrested for armed robbery, kidnapping, and assault. The screwdriver from the toolkit was taken as evidence, and we teased my tech for the next few years. "You beat your screwdriver back yet?" She came in for $2,000 and left with 5-10. She spent 4 years in prison. As an assault victim in that state, they notified me when she got out. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.